Hello everybody, welcome to another exciting edition of The Game Changer. I am indeed Nate the Effing Great, and VictoriBelle has the day off. Enjoy the time off. So, it is going to be another solo podcast here with me, and I know some people are probably a bit upset about that, but, you know, you just gotta deal with the cards that you're dealt with, so... Nana and boo-boo, stick your head in doo-doo. So, I thought to myself, what could I really talk about that hasn't really been discussed in a while? And honestly, this has kind of been, inspired by Nostalgia Critic actually doing this. And I thought to myself, you know what, I kind of want to put my input on this. So I'm going to be talking about a huge part of my childhood that definitely really stands out and is still very well received. And people really do remember it as one of the first ever huge programmings, especially in Disney. And that being the Disney Afternoon. So, with that being said, guys, let's dive right into it. Welcome to the Game Changers edition of Disney Afternoon Review. So Disney Afternoon was basically this programming deal that only dealt for about 2 hours during the day, mostly on weekdays, in which they had 4 different cartoons spanning from September 10th, 1990, and actually ended in August 29th of 1999. So it actually had a pretty good span of really good, absolutely amazing cartoons. And honestly, you guys, it was something that really made you just super excited to come home to, because of the fact that you had a lot of things that went on with school. I mean, homework and kids being dumb and blah blah blah. It was always good to come home and have something that just made you just super happy and just super fun and just absolutely having a great time, and made you just forget about that. And it's just one of those things where, as a kid, you would just throw off your shoes, throw your backpacks, just leave it for your moms. I was not raised that way, so I did not do that, unfortunately. So it was one of those cool things where you could come home and just enjoy cartoons. And honestly, you guys, there were quite a few really good ones, and some that were like, well, this is probably not going to end well. So, but let's just talk about them. All right, so what do we have on hand first?
Dashing and daring, courageous and caring, faithful and friendly, with stories to share. All through the forest they sing out in chorus, marching along as their song fills the air. Gummy bears bouncing here and there and everywhere. High adventure that's beyond compare. They are the gummy bears. Magic and mystery are part of their history, along with the secret of gummy berry juice. The legend is growing, they take pride in knowing that fight for what's right in whatever they do. Gummy bears bouncing here and there and everywhere. High adventure that's beyond compare. They are the gummy bears. They are the gummy bears.
The Gummy Bears. Honestly, this is a very interesting cartoon because it's very loosely inspired by the Gummy Bear candies. I mean, I think that's self-explanatory right there. They base it off a candy where you could just bite their heads and their limbs off. Don't tell me that you were not one of those people, because I was indeed one of them. Honestly, this was a really good show, and this is a really good show to even start off with. Having about 6 seasons and had 65 episodes, but having 95 episodes as segments, it really was one of the longer and very creative shows on this entire list. I mean, you had a lot of really great episodes. Basically, the story is you have a bunch of gummy bears, we'll call them. They're basically involved in a bit of a battle between humans and ogres and just everything else in between. It goes through a lot of different deals, and they use this secret deal known as gummy berry juice. Kind of an interesting deal. I mean, basically they just sip out of it and they can just bounce everywhere. If a human drank the gummy bear juice, they would just get superhuman strength for a brief period of time. It was really cool seeing that. Honestly, you remember some of the names of these really cool, just some of these really cool people here. I mean, you had Zummy Gummy, Gruffy Gummy, Grammy Gummy, Tummy Grummy, Sunny Grummy, Cubby Grummy. A lot of really good stuff. Even Gusto Grummy. Actually, I don't even remember Gusto Grummy that much. Chummy Gummy. Oh, geez Louise. There are a lot more gummy bears than I thought they were. Basically, these gummy bears are all just trying to live their life, but also battling the forces of evil. I'm trying to remember exactly who it was that they were battling off with. Oh my gosh. No, that's not it. Igthorn. Oh man, Duke Igthorn. That's right. That's who the character was. They would usually do battles against him, but there were also a lot of really interesting characters throughout the deal in which they actually just battle against like dragons or against other kingdoms. It really had a really good mythical presence about it. It was just really, really, really cool, actually. I absolutely loved it. It was a lot of fun to watch, a lot of fun to really just be inspired by. Definitely one of those cartoons that are indeed one of a kind and will be very hard to replace, period. It's just a lot of fun, and a lot of people definitely would enjoy that. There is still some DVDs that are out there. Definitely go watch them. It's a lot of fun. So, from there, what's next?
Like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, lasers, aeroplanes. It's a duck blur. Might solve a mystery or rewrite history. DuckTales. Every day they're out there making DuckTales. Tales of daring, good, bad, and DuckTales. Looks behind you. There's a stranger out to find you. What to do? Just grab onto some DuckTales. Every day they're out there making DuckTales. Tales of daring, new, bad, and good DuckTales. Not ponytails or captain tails. No DuckTales.
Now, of course, a lot of people are probably thinking, well, this is the older DuckTales, not the newer one. Yeah, this was basically where it came from. They did a reboot from this series, and honestly, another really good show. Basically, Donald Duck decides to join the U.S. Navy, and he puts his nephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, in the hands of Scrooge McDuck, their uncle, and they go on a lot of crazy adventures. They go exploring for treasures. They go exploring random deals. I mean, a lot of really good characters that were even involved in this. I mean, you had Gyro. Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember some of the other characters that were even involved in here. I mean, there was Gyro, who was basically the mechanic. He's basically like a great inventor. You had Gizmo Duck, who, oh my gosh, that was one of my favorite characters to watch. I always loved tuning into a DuckTales episode and seeing Gizmo Duck just was basically like Inspector Gadget, only 10 times cooler. Launchpad McQuack, who was definitely a pilot airhead, but just really created some really funny moments, especially when you consider some of the trouble that he causes. Duckworth the butler, along with Mrs. Beakley and Webby, who, let's just face it, I'm going to say this right now, the new Webby right now, she's definitely more better than the Webby that we have back then, because she definitely was the kind of high-pitched, nasally voice where it's just like, oh gosh, I cannot stand be in the same room with this person for this long. It's just not worth it for me. Please, just make her stop talking. Yeah. Trying to think of some of the other characters that were about. Flintheart Glumgold was another one. Man, I'm trying to remember who the. I'm trying to remember who that. Oh, the Beagle Boys. Oh, Beagle Boys definitely were some of the people that I was just like, oh, great. Let's just have fun with these guys. Basically, Beagle Boys are walking around. How they're doing this is beyond me. Where they basically just have, numbers on their chests, basically telling them that they've been in prison. They have black masks on. They look like criminals. It's just really, really weird. But it is one of those things where it's like, well, I guess nobody really just whatever. Magica Dispel. Honestly, Magica Dispel was another kind of fun character. I mean, did she kind of stand out? Well, sometimes. I think it just all depended on what we were really doing. But honestly, guys, you have 101 segments, a film 100 episodes, and 4 seasons. Another really good deal. And honestly, the one film was pretty good. I honestly liked it. I was kind of surprised that they didn't really, kind of did more of those, but I guess they didn't really do well in the box office as much as they wanted to. I mean, come on. You had Doc Brown playing the villain, and he did an absolutely amazing job. It's just a lot of fun. You have the great characters, great stories that were being told, just a lot of really fun stuff. All right, so what do we got next? Think about the heart and soul of what Disney Afternoon was all about, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers definitely stands out as one of those really good and actually game-changing, pun intended, shows, because here you have the two chipmunks that a lot of people knew from a lot of the classic Disney cartoons, and they're going on crazy adventures. They have their own base. They're basically dressed up like Indiana Jones, and oh gosh, I'm trying to remember who the other character was all about. Oh gosh, oh gosh, now I can't remember who it was again. I'm trying to remember who Dale's character was kind of like based off of. Magnum P.I. That's right. This series had 3 seasons and 65 episodes, and they really made them count. Basically, these guys are battling against some humans, some animals like themselves, mainly Big Cat, who just was almost like this kind of like a weird kind of like Al Pacino kind of deal in there. But I mean, you had a lot of really good characters along in the team, where you had Gadget, who was the smart one, Monterey Jack, who was the muscles, Zipper, who was just, let's face it, Zipper was just kind of the cute one. Honestly, some really good episodes involved in here, and there's always clashes between a lot of these characters, because all of them want to prove that, hey, they want to solve a mystery. They want to help people. And like I said, they battle with Fat Cat. Norton Nimnol was another one. It was just a lot of really crazy stuff. It was kind of like one of those things where the cops could not figure out some of these deals. So basically, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers are like, hey, we're going to basically take over. And hey, we're going to basically, prove to everybody that we can do it. Even as small things, we can do a great job. And they do. I just remember quite a few episodes. One involving, cats were going missing, and everybody was wondering, where they go? Where are they? Where are they? Where are they? And they find out that all these cats are basically being taken by these mechanical dogs, and they're being utilized as like electro circuits, basically, to basically power up this generator to take over the world. It's a really crazy episode. There's another episode where I think I remember Dale loses his memory or something like that, and basically he gets changed into like this, from this goofy character to like a badass character. There's some really good episodes in here. Gosh, this is amazing. And I'm hoping that they do not do anything to remake this, because this would be really hard. I'm sorry, but when we talk about the next show, I'll explain to you why. It's sometimes when you make these new episodes and you try to modernize them, it works. Like the DuckTales that they're doing now, most of those episodes are working. I kind of like what they're doing. But then there's some things that they try to modernize or they try to change up, and it's like, yeah, you're going to lose me as a viewer. I'm sorry. You're just not going to get me involved here. But going back to Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, there's just a lot of really good stuff in here. Just absolutely fun, just great. Some of them have like really good lessons, and it just goes to show that even if they try to paint a picture perfect deal at the end, there's always going to be conflict in the next episode. They're shown that they're not the perfect team, but they will always find a way to work together to get the job done. It's a really good deal, and they kind of really stated they basically are the status quo of what big teams would really be. You would have the leader, the goofy one, the muscle, the smart one, and the practically adorable one. Okay, I'll admit, Zipper was really, really cute, so just don't judge me. He's adorable. Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers definitely was an amazing, amazing one. And honestly, this is another one of those deals where it features the voice talents of the one and only Jim Cummings, and you're going to find a lot of those in these, in these series. I mean, I think that in Gummy Bears he was involved in that one. DuckTales, I don't think he was involved in that one. But, yeah. Jim Cummings, again, was involved in this one, too. Alright, so, like I said, we go from that amazing one to another really great one that I really enjoyed. Basically put, the sky's the limit with this show. Tailspin was a bit of a dark horse in this series. Not that that's a bad thing at all. No. I mean, honestly, it's interesting just how it was created, because it was based off of characters from the Jungle Book. You, of course, had, Baloo, you had Louie, and you also had Shere Khan. Some people were saying, like, well, what if they brought in some other people, like, maybe the elephant, maybe they brought in Kaa, maybe they brought in some of the other monkeys. Well, technically they did, actually. So, it's actually kind of an interesting deal. Basically, Baloo's a pilot, and he's basically flying around, delivering stuff, but he also gets into a lot of crazy mischief. And you combine that with, Kit, who is basically his sidekick slash almost like a son in a weird way. And you just have a lot of really good stuff. You, of course, had Rebecca, who was also the boss for Baloo, but also kind of like she found a way to always just downplay a lot of the fun that Baloo was having, and always just be kind of like that mom that would just say, okay, you can have fun now, but you need to really work on some work. But honestly, I will also say this, that it also does go to the classic trope that Disney seemed to really do, and that's bringing in an annoying character, and that was Rebecca's daughter, Molly. Honestly, it was another one of those characters that I just needed to just be like, no, This only has one season to it and 65 episodes, but it was still another really good one. And as I mentioned in a previous podcast, it features one of my favorite Disney villains of all time, Don Carnage, voiced by, you guessed it, Jim Cummings. Honestly, Don Carnage is just so entertaining from the way that he talks, from the way that he handles things. It's just hard to believe that they did not give him some kind of spin-off. Now, this also brings in the point that I was making earlier about the fact that when you try to recreate something, it doesn't always work, especially if you try to modernize it or change it. They did it recently on an episode of DuckTales where they brought Don Carnage into the fray. They had a different person voicing him, so it's kind of like, okay, well, I guess, you can't always rely on the original because, well, obviously, it's just not always going to work out. Maybe Jim didn't have the right kind of pay that he wanted, and I wouldn't blame him. Basically, they made Don Carnage into almost like this singing pirate, and I'm like, what? No, he was silly, he was rambunctious, he just said things, and you were easily entertained. He didn't need to have, like, a musical number to prove that he was there. It made no sense to me. So this is one of those things where it's like, just don't touch anything if you're going to change it that drastically. Some of the episodes I do remember from this were involving, Don Carnage being just absolutely silly. He tries to take over Cape Suzette. He tries to sneak in by using, like, many different disguises. Like, he'll take his ship, the Iron Vulture, and make it into, like, a cruise ship, or he'll make it into the clouds, or just something crazy and just very silly, but it's still funny. And, when it comes to, like, Baloo, he had other great characters involved, like, Wildcat, who was just he was kind of out there. You knew that he wasn't always right in the head, but he always brought in that kind of, comic relief that you kind of wanted. You had Don Carnage's gang. Each one of them had their own kind of quirky little accents, I guess you could call it. But it was still fun. It's just one of those things where it was like, this is what cartoons need to be. They need to be fun for everybody, not just for kids, and not just appeasing to the smaller masses. No disrespect at all. Oh, man, I am just loving these countdowns that we're talking about. We're talking about so many great stuff. I mean, honestly, though, what else, what could even possibly touch Tailspin? Whew! Darkwing Duck. Wow. I mean, 3 seasons, 91 episodes. Another really good series that Disney Afternoon brought to the table. I'm not gonna lie. When it comes to Darkwing Duck, when I watch the Nostalgia Critics review on this, he really does bring up some really good points. This is one of the first few times where you don't have a side character. You don't have a sidekick. You have the main character who's really just doing this because he's an egotistical guy who's just craving for the fame and for the attention. He just wants to prove that, hey, I can do these things. I can be a hero. And, he just wants to be something absolutely interesting. And it's just it's really fun. It's really fun. Darkwing Duck, he is one of those characters that a lot of people look at and think, he's very childish, but it's one of those things where it's like a harmless kind of a child where, if he says something, it's not going to be something that's going to, harm or poison the masses. It's very entertaining. He's also there to just, he narrates himself. Are you kidding me? This is just, it's funny. It's absolutely funny, some of the stuff that he gets into. Some of the characters, I mean, of course, we mentioned, Darkwing Duck, Launchpad McQuack, yeah, he gets involved in this. It's kind of cool. Goslin, who's basically like the tomboy daughter of Darkwing Duck, honestly, I think she really was one of those kids that a lot of people kind of related to because she was there to kind of have fun. She wasn't there to play with dollies or anything like that. No, she was just there to, kind of have fun, and she's kind of proud of her dad, but she also steers him on the right path. It's really good. Again, Jim Cummings. What more do I need to say when it comes to Darkwing Duck? It just absolutely amazing. But it also features a lot of really interesting, characters, villains, really. I mean, when you look at a lot of these crazy villains that were involved with this, I mean, you have Negaduck, who is also voiced by Jim Cummings, so he basically has to voice this egocentric guy, but he also has to voice basically this evil dude. It's really amazing. You had Bushroot, you had Bloodflood. Oh, the Liquidator. That's right. Megavolt, Quackerjack. I mean, you look at a lot of these crazy villains, and a lot of people will say, well, this seems a lot like it's basically a cartoon version of Batman. Yeah, this is basically PG Batman, to say the least. I mean, it basically even says that, one of the, in the city that they live in, St. Canard is, Canard is French for duck, and it's basically a direct parody off of Gotham City. So, honestly, it's another really good deal. It's a lot of fun. You look at all the things that, Darkwing Duck does, and you are either kind of inspired at how he's just trying to be this crazy and kind of egotist and just this overly dramatic, egotistical guy. It's so much fun. It's just a lot of fun just watching that. I mean, so many people definitely can mention the fact that, there are other superheroes that he kind of parries off of, like the Shadow, the Sandman, Doc Savage, Batman, of course, Green Hornet, and Flash even. Hell, they even threw in Lone Ranger and Zorro. Okay, the Mask, I can totally understand why they would think that. It's crazy how successful that this story was. It was a lot of fun. Absolutely a lot of fun. I mean, yeah, holy cow. I'm just still kind of awestruck by that. I mean, it's just great. So, I mean, there's nothing that could possibly even touch that.
1,000 years ago, superstition and the sword ruled. It was a time of darkness. It was a world of fear. It was the age of gargoyles. Stone by day, warriors by night. We were betrayed by the humans we had sworn to protect, frozen in stone by a magic spell for 1,000 years. Now here in Manhattan, the spell is broken, and we live again. We are defenders of the night. We are gargoyles.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to be honest with you guys. When it comes to gargoyles, I barely got a chance to really experience the true majesty and the true beauty that was this cartoon. It's a really good cartoon series from what I've been hearing. I regret the fact that as a kid I was more into some of the other stuff. But I do remember staying up late on so many nights, even school nights. Oh my gosh. and I would usually see a lot of a lot of these scenes from Gargoyles, and it just got a little too dark for me. But I realized to myself, not a bad thing, because Gargoyles was actually a really, really good series. I mean, 3 seasons, 78 episodes. Basically, you have these gargoyles that are, contained for over like so many years. Now they're in Manhattan. They're battling against other gargoyles or other random. It's really cool. It is really cool. I wish I could say more, and I wish I could say I had some really good episodes I could talk about, but I sadly don't. I sadly don't have anything to really say. I don't even have like an episode that could really stand out, but it was still a lot of fun. It was just honestly a lot of fun. So honestly, anybody that likes Gargoyles, we still need a Gargoyles live action remake. I will say that right now. So yeah, I mean, with all of these really great series that I've just been talking about, you have to think that every single one of them have been, really good and continue to stay good, right? Well, so when it comes to Goof Troop, I do remember this series, and I do remember being okay with it. It wasn't one of those things that I was kind of like, oh man, Goof Troop's on, yeah, it's going to be really good. Yeah, I really didn't have too much of, that much of like a full-on interest in it. I mean, there's a lot of people that definitely will say this, that one of the best things about it was, not exactly Goofy or Max. It was actually more Pete and his family. I mean, you have Pete, who is basically just this very huge, very egotistical guy. You have his wife, Peg, who can be sweet, but can also be very vocal whenever she needs to be. You have PJ, who is kind of like the son that people don't want to end up as, kind of like the whipped boy. And then you have their younger daughter, Pistol, who, I'm not gonna lie, she kind of got scary from time to time. And yeah, it's just it's kind of one of those things where I do agree with a lot of people. It would have been kind of cool if they focused on Pete's family more as the main, because when it comes down to it, I don't think that Goofy was really that much of one of those characters that really stood out as like, well, he should get his own show. He should be a main character. No, I really see Goofy more as kind of the, as kind of the support. He brings in a lot of, comedic effects. He's not really one of those guys that I see more as like the main cast. I mean, you even look at like movies like a Goofy movie or an extremely Goofy movie. It's never fully focused on Goofy. A lot of times it's more focused on Max. And I will say this, that when you look at Max in those movies compared to the series, this was one of those times where, Disney was trying to be, trying to be hip, and they were trying to be with it, It's one of those series where it just, I don't know. It was one of those things where I think it was a downfall. No, trust me, there's another cartoon where it starts the downfall. But it's just one of those series where it was like, no, you kind of take it or leave it. It had some good moments. I mean, it had some good episodes, but you kind of more were there to watch, Pete and his family, in my opinion. It lasted for 2 seasons, 78 episodes, including one special. Honestly, like I said, one of the more lower ranked on here, but I'm not going to lie to you guys. Compared to this next one, this one, Goof Troop, is okay. When you come to this one, this is where you probably will see the downfall of where Disney Afternoon was going to be taking.
Once upon a time in Toontown, there was a cat that had it all. Fortune and fame, top of the game, up until it hit the wall. Now he makes a living downtown, walking on a brand new beat. Slipping through the new day, flipping through the new day, tripping on a two-way, taking down a one-way street, moves that cop, cranking up crime. Stop the clock, hope he gets here on time. Let's go bonkers, yeah, totally nuts. Bonkers, no ifs, ands, or buts, bonkers. Someone's stealing the show. Ain't me, I gotta go, no, no. Bonkers, things getting out of control. Now you got in the trap, ready to snap, snapping the cap and taking the rap, but you can't hold back that wacky attack. That's why you're still a star, 'cause you're bonkers, 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 bonkers. Wherever you are.
Yeah, bonkers. So this was a series that was basically a full series, and it turned into a deal from Ron Tunage. I actually do remember Ron Tunage, and that might be another thing that I might have to talk about, but we'll see. So basically, let me put it like this. You had a cop and a tune. If already you were saying Who Framed Roger Rabbit, duh. That's literally all I say is duh. Because, oh my gosh, it is kind of that same deal. And it's really weird because they don't even follow the same recipe or the same deal with them. It's just, it's one of those series where the main character, Bonkers, is so annoying. I do not like him whatsoever. Jim Cummings, this was not one of your better deal. I just, I did not like this series. It was another one of those things where it was kind of there. Maybe you were kind of hoping that, well, maybe they'll do something interesting. I mean, honestly, you look at it. It's basically a toon cop who's basically saving people from, crimes and whatnot, which already sounds kind of cool, but also, that involves Disney characters, so you're thinking, okay, well, this might actually be really cool just to see that, because that Disney has, like, a long history of characters that they could use. So who do they use? Well, to be fair, you have Mad Hatter and March Hare. Some of their parts, okay, I guess I can admit they were kind of good. You had Dumbo in, like, one scene. You had Mickey in a crate. I don't know. Donald's featured in the first episode, from what I remember. And, honestly, that's all I can think of, guys, because this was a series that had a lot of potential, because you could have not had an annoying character, and B, you could have incorporated so many other people involved in it. I mean, honestly, you probably could have had, maybe do a Chippendales crossover with Bonkers, and maybe they team up and help out. Or maybe you could have done something interesting. But honestly, I don't even know if they would even save this series. It was annoying. It was just not exactly one of those things that I'm trying to find, like, the right words for this, but it's really hard. Bonkers is just not one of those things that I really am very fond of, and honestly, it's not the worst. I will tell you this. It is not the worst one. That is still to come right now. But Bonkers is still, like, at the very edge where it's just like, can't deal. Nope, just can't deal. I mean, listen to a bonkers monologue or him talking on YouTube, and you will see one of the reasons why this series got so annoying. It just, it just did not work. It did not work for me. So, I mean, for those that loved it, hey, good for you, I guess. But for me, I was just not a fan. Alright, so there's got to be like another quote-unquote like good series, I guess. Well, I mean, we can kind of talk about a relatively okay series, to be fair. I mean, it's not that bad. It's just questionable.
Follow me to a place where incredible feats are routine every hour or so. Where enchantment runs rampant, yes, wild in the streets. Open sesame, here we go! Arabian Nights, like Arabian Days. They tease and excite, take off and take flight. They shock and amaze. Arabian Nights, like Arabian Days. More often than not, hotter than hot, in a lot of good ways. Pack your shield, pack your sword. You want air, get bored. Don't get beaten, oh God, you might. Come on down, stop on by, hop a carpet and fly to another Arabian night.
Okay, as a kid, I did enjoy Aladdin. And honestly, maybe it was just still for the nostalgia of it, but it was still an okay series looking back at it. I mean, some of the cartoon animations, they were kind of weird. I mean, there's some points where you definitely do see like the ideal, like especially with Aladdin. Oh my gosh, there's some points where you look at Aladdin and you almost just see like he has these lifeless eyes, and you're just kind of like, oh, okay, no, I just no, thank you, just stay away. And one of the things that definitely came up is that it's weird. It's weird because of the fact that Jasmine and Aladdin are supposed to get married like at any day now, but they really don't until, of course, the third movie came out, and it just was, it's one of those things where it gets to be weird that they're almost like delaying the, they're like delaying, the wedding day for 86 episodes, 3 seasons. I have 2 direct-to-video films. So my guess is that it's Return from Jafar and King of Thieves. But in all honesty, King of Thieves was actually better than Return of Jafar, in my opinion. So I'll at least say that. Also, I will say this, Dan Castellaneta, Dan was just not, he's not Robin Williams. I'm sorry. It was kind of like how somebody said, it's kind of basically a Dan stand-up deal. He just didn't have that same kind of feeling that Robin Williams left in the first Aladdin movie. And, the second one, you still felt like with him, he'd kind of boiled down just a little bit, but it was still kind of one of those things where, you still had fun with it. With Dan, it just was one of those things where you could definitely tell it's Homer Simpson playing an Aladdin movie. Just not too much in the way of, and a lot of people definitely hit this, and I agree. A lot of the things that really kept the series going was the villains. I mean, you had, Abi Small, you had Sadira, you had Mechanicles, oh man, Mosenrath. A lot of these interesting characters that were, involved in this that really created something amazing and really gave us something very, it gave us something really cool to really enjoy. I can't say too much about, about this. It's just, it's weird. It's, I don't know. I really had a hard time just thinking of like really positive things to say about it. There are some episodes where like, okay, but nothing really stood out as like, oh, this is a really good episode. So, again, this is another one of those series where it was like, well, I mean, it's not bad, but it's just one of those things where it's like tolerable, I guess you could say. But I mean, there's probably some other interesting, series that had spin-offs off of movies. I mean, of course, you had Tailspin, which was based off of The Jungle Book. You had Chip and Dale, based off of anything that was Chip and Dale's related. You had Aladdin, which was based off of Aladdin. Wow, didn't see that coming. I mean, is there any others that I might be missing?
Hakuna Matata. What a wonderful phrase. Hakuna Matata. Ain't no passing craze. It means no worries for the rest of your days. It's our problem-free philosophy. Hakuna Matata. It means no worries for the rest of your days. It's our problem-free philosophy. Hakuna Matata. Come on and Pumbaa.
Oh yeah, Timon and Pumbaa. How silly of me to forget that. So, Timon and Pumbaa is basically, as you guessed it, a series about Timon and Pumbaa. And they get into these crazy, wild antics. I will say this, they had an episode where they basically talk about how Timon and Pumbaa met, and then they did Lion King 1.5, and it's like, okay, they basically just took the one from the series, and they basically just decided, no, that was stupid, let's just recreate it. It was really weird. They basically just made it seem like, okay, this thing that we did for the TV series is stupid, let's change it up completely and make it something that honestly made more sense in my opinion. I don't know, Timon and Pumbaa was another one of those series where it was like, it's passable. It's not one of those things where I look at it and I think to myself, okay, well, I don't even know. I really don't have too much positive things to say about it. I mean, lasting for 3 seasons, 85 episodes. Again, not one of those things that I guess was okay, to say the least. I don't know. I mean, they got into deals where they, were doing bosses. Excuse me, where basically they're trying to be the, they're trying to cause a little bit of mischief, a little bit of mayhem. I don't know. It was really weird. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, not exactly one of those things that I remember very fondly. Man, I feel like I just went from like the peak of Toon Disney and Disney Channel, Disney Afternoon. We're already just a couple more episodes away from the end, so I promise you guys it will be just a couple more. Please bear with me. I promise you that there is no way that there is going to be anything worse than, Timon and Pumbaa. I promise. Starting after this. This show. I hate everything that it is. I hate everything that it stands for. I swear. 1 season, 13 episodes. That's 1 season and 13 episodes Too many. I don't understand why this was a thing. Schnookums and Meat is basically this weird cartoon deal that was basically like the Disney version of Ren and Stimpy, and they just had these random characters of Schnookums and Meat, and then you had Pith Possum, Super Dynamic Possum of Tomorrow. Okay, that was tolerable. Then you had Tex Tinstar, the best in the West. It was really weird. I'm not gonna lie, I don't understand it. There's a reason why this was only for a while, because so many people did not. Here's what Wikipedia says. This show represents Disney's attempt to do a more edgy cartoon in the vein to the Nickelodeon shows, the Ren and Stimpy Show and Rocko's Modern Life. Oh, well, bravo, Disney. Not only did you create something more edgy, you also created something stupid. I hate this show. I hate the show. I feel like that's all I need to say is that I hate the show. Please, just play the next one, please. There's no way it can get worse than that. You know, this is not as bad as Schnookums and Meat, but it does get to be stupid. So you literally are taking Huey, Dewey, and Louie. They turn into, they're preteens, and they're hanging out with their Uncle Donald, and just, this is weird. It's just absolutely weird. I love this. Huey, Dewey, and Louie have more distinctive personalities than what they had been presented as youngers. Shut up. No, and no. Literally, you take Quack Pack and you compare it to Home Improvement. Basically, you take Home Improvement and you just have, the popular kid. You nix the other two kids and you just create two copies of that same kid that's popular, and that is basically Quack Pack. They don't have any distinctive personalities from each other. They're all the same. They're all doing the same, movements and random things where they're leaning against stuff and crossing arms, putting their hands in their pockets. Some things where it's like, oh, this is 90s cool. This is what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be these preteens that are literally as bland as you can think, as plain as butter. God help me, I do not remember good things about this show either. I think it's one of those situations where it's the only good things that were in this were, I think, Donald and Daisy. I kind of wanted to see more of what they were going through. Donald was a cameraman. Daisy's a reporter. They're doing this kind of deal where, they're doing reporting. They're still kind of trying to just work a relationship. It's one of those things where I think that they could have done so much more with them. But no, we get Huey, Dewey, and Louie and just some random deals where it's oh, hey, let's have scientific stuff going. Let's have the 3 nephews become superheroes. Let's have all these random things happen for no reason. They're going to go to a place where there are always rules and rules and rules and rules and rules. Oh, God. Oh, my gosh. This irritates me on so many different levels. God, just one more game. Just one more show to get through, and then I'll be done with this podcast. I mean, we've already passed Schnookums and Me. We already talked about Quack Pack. We already talked about Timon and Pumbaa. I mean, if we end on a cruel note, I will regret making this podcast. I swear.
On the road to glory, ain't no turning back. Got to be the man it does on the crack of time. Look out, clear the way. Dark side here to play. That's right. That's right. Magic ducks, here come the mighty ducks, burning up the ice. Try to stop the mighty ducks, and you're gonna pay the price. Here come the mighty ducks, fighting for the gold. Let's hear it for the mighty ducks. Time to rock and roll. Let's go. Let's go. Ducks rock. Mighty ducks rock. Let's hear it for the mighty ducks.
I'm okay with this. So, I'm in the minority when it comes to this. I kind of enjoyed the Mighty Ducks. I mean, obviously, of course, people are going to say, well, it's based off of the actual Mighty Ducks movie, and they just basically took it out of context. They put real ducks in there, they made them aliens, they did this, blah, 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 blah. I enjoyed it. I really did. I kind of liked the technology that they had, the legendary mask that, Wild Wing would wear. It was a really good series, and again, they do go through the tropes of, the leader, the goofball, the brains, the muscle. I think you could probably throw the quote-unquote badass chick, and then the cool guy. You kind of add a couple more people to it. I mean, it's not bad. Not bad at all. So, what makes this a really good series? Honestly, the story is kind of easy to follow. Basically, you have these ducks battling up against a villain by the name of Dragonus, voiced by Tim Curry. Thank you. Thank you so much. And honestly, the villains in this one are kind of cool too. You had Siege, voiced by Clancy Brown, Chameleon, voiced by Frank Welker, and honestly, one of the best pairings, you have Wrath, voiced by Tony J. Tony J and Tim Curry in a cartoon. It was awesome. It was awesome. They really worked off each other, and it was beautiful. I loved everything about this pairing. Honestly, I wish we could have had more. I really do. So, in all honesty, like I said, the Mighty Ducks cartoon is not bad. It's just another one of those things where it's passable. Passable due to the fact that there's some great action, some great adventures. You have a little bit of, lessons every now and then. And hey, it was a deal that lasted for one season and 26 episodes. Honestly, I was okay with it. Some people don't like it because it just talk about how ducks rock, ducks rock. So what? So what? I really could care less about that. It's still a really good story, in all honesty. So I enjoyed it. Mighty Ducks is actually a pretty good series. I mean, they battle against like a plant monster. They battle against other creatures that came from their, from their dimensions, from their world. They had also Jim Belushi involved in this one, who probably had some of the best comedic stuff, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, I enjoyed this one. So that is my take on Disney Afternoons. Honestly, overall thoughts on this? It had a good run. It really did. It had some really good shows, and then there were some shows they really tried to experiment with. I mean, I didn't get a chance to really talk about some of the other stuff that they did with Toon Disney, where you had the Marsupilami, Raw Tunage, the Wuzzles, some other random stuff that they did here and there, but Disney Afternoon is a program that definitely defined my childhood, and I enjoyed a lot of things about it. I enjoyed so much of the cartoons. I enjoyed so much of the silliness, the entertaining parts of it, and it also helped me really realize that there are worse things than than certain TV shows, and even in wrestling, that you can talk about a lot of bad things in wrestling, but then you just throw in something that was in, Disney Afternoon, you'll realize, okay, it could have been a lot worse. I honestly will say this. If you think, Raw was bad, go look at an episode of Schnookums and Me, and you'll find out that it could have been a lot worse. It could have been something like this. That's just my opinion. So, with that being said, guys, I have been Nate the Effing Great. Thank you for joining me here on The Game Changer. And you can always follow me on Twitter at RealFNGame. Be sure to give us a like on our Facebook fan page. Be sure to follow us here on Spreaker.com. Also give us a subscribe on the Game Changer page on YouTube. And honestly, you guys, I enjoyed talking about this. Through the ups and downs, especially those downs at the very end, it was a lot of fun to finally talk about Disney Afternoon. And for those of you that are hoping that there will be a co-host in the next episode, there will be. It's just every now and then I just have to upload something so that way nobody's thinking like, oh, I fell off the face of the earth or something like that. So, with that being said, I've been Nate the Effing Great. Thank you for joining me here for The Game Changer, and I will talk to you in the next episode. Bye-bye!